Welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Good morning, Seattle. My name is Leigh, and I'm here with Gretta. We are filling in for Dr. Pat this morning. She is on a well-deserved break today. Gretta and I are from the podcast Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, hosted on Transformation Talk Radio, Fridays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And our podcast, normally we are myself, Gretta, Yvonne, and the Realm of Beings, but our one co-host could not join us today. And we have a podcast that is centered around the creation of reality. And we talk with you in general conversation about what we're creating in our lives, what realities we're making, and to help us understand what we're creating, how it shows up, and tools and understanding to dissect that to create a reality that's more in line with what the true life you want to live. So we also channel the Realm of Beings. Gretta facilitates that for us. So in the last portion of the show, we will hear directly from them. So Gretta, can you tell the audience more about the creation of reality?
Surely. First of all, I think what I'd like to say is that realities are being created by each one of us 24/7. We never stop creating realities. People think that a reality is a big thing, like I'm going to buy a car or I'm going to manifest a house. And that's not necessarily so. For instance, if you are walking down the street and you're putting your right foot in front of your left foot, that's a creation of reality into itself. Because realities are a combination of choices. What choices are we going to make? And there's a myriad of opportunities for us. Some opportunities we wish that we had not taken advantage of in some cases, and in other cases we wish that we had done something. But it's every moment, and a moment is faster than the speed of light. So every moment we are creating our reality. We are creating our life. And it's all about choice. Yeah, Leigh, you were going to say something.
And how are we creating our reality?
It's a good one. Yeah, we create our reality by way of thought. You think it. There's some theories about that. Some psychologists are thinking that, does the thought come first? It's almost like the chicken and the egg. What came first?
Yes.
Does the thought come first and then the emotion? Or does the emotion come first and then the thought? Or do both of them come simultaneously? We purport that it's the thought comes first and then the emotion. I kind of compare it to an automobile. If you have an automobile and it doesn't have any gas, you have the vehicle, which is the automobile. It's the car itself, but you didn't put any gas in it. So the only way it's going to be able to move is if you call a tow truck and the tow truck takes it away, or you gather up some people and say, push it to a certain place. But normally, what do? We go and we put gas in the car. When we put gas in the car, we turn it on, it ignites, and then we can go wherever we want to go. So creation of a reality is similar to that, Leigh. It's like we have a thought, and the more we think about it, the more intense emotions that we put on that thought, the faster the manifestation of it. So that can even goes with anything, basically.
It goes in, let's just call it, it's sort of bi-directional, right? Those things that we may want to create in our life, and those things we may not want to create in our life, depending on the emotional charge that thought has.
Right. And we have to put the charge there. And we think and we think and we think, and it gets intense. I want a candy bar. I had a little boy, I can tell you this story. There was a little boy that I was working with, and he just wanted a bicycle. He wanted a bicycle. And he kept concentrating. And then when he came back to me, he said, I got my bicycle. So the thought was the bicycle. The energy behind wanting that bicycle was the emotion he put on it. That was something that he really, really, really wanted. So he kicked it in. But then there are also things, Leigh, as you know, that there are things that we kick in that we wish that we had never kicked in. And
yes.
they're out there as well, like illnesses, accidents, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to go there with today's audience? Should we share with them about, these mental equivalencies, how things manifest in our life?
Sure.
Where should we go?
Sure, we can do that with the audience. Mental equivalencies. The idea of mental equivalencies was Matthew Fox was given credit for that back in 1948.
Okay.
So what we're talking about is not something new. It's really something old. Creation of reality, I'm sure, was back in the 1920s, talking about creation of reality. However, Seth, the entity Seth, who channeled through Jane Roberts, has been given the credit for coining the term creation of reality. But the concept, the ideas of it have been around for a very long time. So we can start from the beginning. Where do we first create our reality? See, people think that, okay, we're in this body now, we're right here in what people call this dimension. And so this is where I'm creating my reality. They don't realize that the reality starts even before conception. We are energy essences of the force, which created all of existence. From there, we move into an incarnate stage. And that's where we formulate what our vehicles are going to look like. We make other choices about some of our experiences, some of the how, as we call it. The how are you going to learn something? How do you want to learn these lessons? It's not that you choose. Many people say that we choose the lessons. And we're saying, no, the lessons are already chosen. You are given the lesson. What you have to do is the how of the lesson. Like say a lesson is about abandonment. then how are you going to learn that? That's your choice. But you started the creation of reality, because back at the incarnate stage, you've got to decide species. You've got to decide how you're going to manifest your physicality. Are you going to be a humanoid? And if you're going to be a humanoid, you're going to choose your mother and your father. And you choose your parents by way of the how. How are they going to support you in learning abandonment? How will they, or maybe you won't even learn it from them, but you're going to pick up their epigenetics, you're going to pick up their genetics. And epigenetics is, making it real simple, is what are they carrying down the line to you? What are they carrying for you? In other words, there's some parents that provide their children with an experience in addiction of some sort. Some parents provide their children with an experience in opulent prosperity or opulent wealth, you see. So you choose the parents according to the lessons that you've committed to learn. And choosing your parents is the beginning of how I want to learn these lessons. And then you continue from there.
And when you were saying lessons we are supposed to learn, what exact context are you talking about? Is that my lesson is abandonment, and I am supposed to learn that I do not need to experience this, or I'm sure people get very sucked into abandonment challenges. So is the idea that we are here to overcome these challenges, or just to strictly experience them without evolving or shifting our impressions about it? What are we supposed to do?
Well, the idea is that we've joined this drama, we've joined this play so that we can experience ourselves. And some of us, we put in joy, we put in peace, we put in unconditional love. So there are a lot of things that are in, but it's like a vegetable soup. You know, I remember when I was a kid, and my great grandmother would say, okay, here we're having vegetable soup for dinner. So the first thing I'd look at wouldn't even be the liquid of the soup. I'd look and see what are the vegetables in there and find the ones that I like the best. And then that's what I would eat, like the green peas. I used to love green peas because they were sweet. So I would search out all the green peas. It's like vegetable soup. What do I want to experience with these lessons? How am I going to do it? But see, there are two lessons that we all have in common, basically two. I'm talking about the basic ones. One is the fact that we want to learn, and let me put learn in quotes, because it's not about us wanting to learn something as it is about us wanting to remember something. Because all of these things that we've been learning in books from all kinds of people, from entities outside of this earth, all of those things, we already know all of it. We really do. But what we're doing now today, and the people that are listening to us, the audience, is remembering. We're helping them to remember these things. Remember about creations of reality, how we create. We already know this, really. We already know it. So the two lessons are, one, to love ourselves. A lot of us don't love ourselves. And once we came into the vehicle, we came out of the incarnate stage and we came into the vehicle, we learn from the people that we bring to us, that we create to bring around us, that we don't love ourselves. Or some people will create to bring people around them that show that they do love themselves. So unconditional love of self is one for everybody, every humanoid. The next thing, separation. That's
that there is no separation.
Correct. There is no separation, really. It's an illusion. See, we have creation of reality, and creation of reality is really creating a lot of illusions. These are all illusions we're creating, but they appear to be so real. You know, like if I stub my toe, what am I going to do? Probably if it really hurt, I'm going to say, ouch, you know. So it's challenging to tell somebody, well, you know, you really didn't stub your toe. You know, what do you mean I didn't stub my toe?
Right. I felt it.
Right. So, you know, so don't tell me that I'm living in a world of illusion, but it is illusion, very, very illusionary. And it makes us think in this avenue or this drama that we're in, that it's real. So part it's of unconditional love of self, and there is no separation. We're all one. There's only oneness.
And we will end on oneness. Thanks so much for listening. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to call at 800-930-2819. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Leigh, and I'm talking with Gretta. We are filling in for Dr. Pat today. We host the podcast, Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you for joining us. Before we went to break, Gretta and I were chatting about reality and illusion and how we create our reality. And we mentioned something called mental equivalencies. So we'd like to elaborate on that a little further, how they manifest in our lives, how we create them in our lives, what they can teach us and guide us, how they can teach us and guide us. Gretta, can you elaborate more on that?
Okay, I want to introduce the concept of the unconscious. Many people go from consciousness to subconscious. I hear a lot of that, subconscious, but we're talking about the unconscious. And the difference between the conscious and the unconscious is, I'll give you an example of a glass of water. You take an empty glass and you put it under the faucet. And you run the faucet, and it's filling up with water, more water, more water, more water. When the glass is totally full, then the water starts to run over the sides. It displaces it so it can take in new water. That's equivalent to your consciousness. Now, the unconscious, let's take that same glass. It's empty. We put it under the faucet. We turn on the faucet, and the water never runs over. It just keeps taking in, and taking in. That's the unconscious. The unconscious never forgets anything and retains everything. It knows when you ate your first candy bar. It knows when you first sneezed. It doesn't forget anything. Everything is contained within its memory. Okay, with that, now let's move into the creation of reality and mental equivalencies. Let's say you've been working very hard on the job. You've had a very stressful day, and then you start to experience a headache. And you say, "Oh, I have a headache," you know. Okay. Usually you just think, okay, I have a headache and that's it. Let me go take some aspirin. And that's as far as it goes. The concentration then is to get rid of the headache. That's the focus. But when we talk about creation of reality and you think of that headache, then you're going to start to think beyond just the headache. You start to begin to think on why do you have the headache in the first place? So why becomes a very important word when we're talking about creation of reality. Why did I create? Notice what I'm saying, because the headache just didn't come out of nowhere now. Because anything that happens with you, you created yourself. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. If it's happened to you personally, then you created it. So the headache is a personal experience of yours. So you created it. The thing then, Leigh, is to look and see and try to figure out why did you create it in the first place? So now we get into mental equivalencies. There are several books, several people that you can call into the studio and we can give you some recommendations after the program is over. But there are several books, several people, authors that deal with mental equivalencies. So you would see headache and it would tell you stress. You've placed yourself under stress. So then when you recognize, okay, I'm under stress, then the next step is going to be what's causing my stress? Because that's what you're going to want to deal with. Sure, you're going to take that aspirin. I'm not saying for you not to take that aspirin or whatever medication you choose to take for headaches, you know. And if you've created to experience a migraine headache has a different mental equivalency to it, Leigh, than just a headache.
Okay.
Those are two different things. So there are two different reasons. Migraine headache versus regular headache. So see your body. I'm sorry, Leigh, go ahead. You were going to ask.
Oh, I was going to say mental equivalencies are such an interesting topic when you understand that, when you can understand that you are creating this, but your body is giving you clues as to if you're unaware of what you're creating. I think the last place we sort of get a little message is in the physical body. So, right, if you don't deal with it at other levels, it comes knocking on the physical body, like that stub of the toe or the headache or, some other more serious conditions, right? But if you know that this exists and you know that you're creating it, it's such a powerful tool for you to observe what you're doing.
Right. I like how you said powerful tool, because that's what it is. It's a tool for us to be able to use to understand where our unconscious is, because the unconscious is always supporting you in the lessons you want to learn.
And ladies, may I interrupt for just 1 second? We have a caller that's actually been waiting very patiently with us. A really good question for you guys, if I'd like to bring her on.
Oh, yes. Fabulous.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry to interrupt. It's Deb from New Jersey. Hi, Deb. What's your question?
Hi, Deb.
Hi. I was wondering if my question is how do we live in the realities of the illusions? What are some ways to deal with these realities that are illusions? Any tips or thoughts on that?
Well, one thing would be to understand, that you create your own reality. That's the biggie, is to understand that first. And then the next thing is you can use the mental equivalencies to help you figure out how did you develop this. But now, Deb, you're talking about, well, how do we deal with it? How do we deal with something that we don't want?
Or I get a sense, Deb, are you trying to get at the, maybe not your the collective's reality that we share? Are you talking more about that? That maybe you feel that we don't have control of, we're just a part of some collective reality? Are you still on the line?
I guess both, because sometimes they go hand in hand.
Right, that's possible. That is possible. It depends what happens with that. Leigh, were you going to say something else in reference to that? Or?
Well, I just wanted to know, it seems that we are sharing a global experience at this moment in time. A lot of things are shifting, and maybe we feel things are out of our control because this does appear to be a global experience. So in that context, how can we understand that illusion?
Okay, let's say that I bought some tickets to go to the circus. I took my family. When I got there, I'm going to see all these other people that have bought tickets to go to the circus. So we are sharing a collective creation of reality. A collective creation of reality in that we all want to go see the circus. So you're in your house, another person is in their house, another person is in their house, but we all come together. We all buy tickets and we all come together to experience the circus. That's a collective consciousness. When you go to a football game, you have the stadiums filled with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, there to enjoy the football game. So that's a collective consciousness. We're coming together collectively to experience the football game. So there are times in this world experience that we have come together as a collective to experience something together. It might be going into a classroom, a 5th grade classroom, and the children are all there with the teacher. That's a collective consciousness. They just didn't pop up and say, okay, I'm going to 5th grade and I'm going to Joe Schmo's classroom. No, they come together, but there's a creation of reality there. Even if they didn't know the teacher, there's a collective, and then they come together and they form this experience in this classroom. So we are constantly in a state of formulating collective consciousnesses. Some of them that probably we wish we had never created. Like, for instance, a World War II was a collective consciousness, Another collective consciousness would be the people that go to space, the astronauts that are going to space, even if it's only 3 or 4 of them going up at one time, but there's a collective consciousness between them going on, that they're sharing this experience at that time on that day and going up into space, be it that they go up and come straight down, or be it that they stay there for 30 days. I think one group stayed up there for a year. So that's a collective. I'm coming together with you. So we have a lot of collective experiences that also have mental equivalencies.
Okay, so how can we learn from that? Let's going to space seems like a great thing. Maybe going to class is also pretty good for most people. But if you're collectively experiencing like our current global situation, which some of us may or may not want to participate in. I mean, what do we have to learn from that on an individual level to shift something?
On an individual level to shift, certain experiences are created out of fear. And when you have an experience that's created out of fear, you really want to deal with that within yourself. Because when you fear something, the energy is so strong that it will provide you with the experience that you fear. So one thing you want to do is to see yourself always, if it's an experience that you do not want, is to stay within yourself, being safe and secure. But the big thing is to love self. I know when we did one podcast, someone made a comment about, well, I don't think it's very important to love self. That is one of the really, really super important things, is to learn to love self. Because when you learn, see, it's create, support, create. And I know we won't be able to explain this whole thing about creation of reality in 1 hour, but it's to love self. When you love self, appreciate yourself, you're going to create people that come around you. You're going to bring them. Law of attraction. People like to use that. Law of attraction. You're going to attract people who support you in loving yourself. That's the thing. See, if we get in an argument with somebody or a disagreement with somebody, we look at the other person and say, okay, you're my challenge. You blame that person. Well, you did this to me, you did that, and all that kind of stuff. And you can never do anything to anybody. It's impossible. But what you do is you can support them where they are at. I always tell people, don't look outside yourself. Your challenges are internal. The solutions are internal. And I think that's important, especially in keeping with what Deb has said, and that you said too, with the collective consciousness. Even though you're in a collective consciousness, you still have your own. You still have your own reality. You have choice. You can be a part of the collective or not part of the collective. You always have choice. Always. You're never
so important for our listeners to understand that the creation of your reality is always based on choice. Thank you, Seattle, for listening. We're going to take a momentary short break. And when we come back, we will be joined by the realm of beings, and we will hear directly what they have to tell us about this conversation about the creation of reality. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello, thank you for listening. My name is Leigh, and I'm here with Gretta. We are the hosts of the podcast, Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, hosted on Transformation Talk Radio, Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific Time. So Gretta and I are filling in for Dr. Pat today. Our colleague Yvonne is absent. Unfortunately, she couldn't join us. On our podcast, the third segment of the podcast, we have a direct link through Gretta to the realm of beings. So if you would like more information on channeling or what it is, please, you can find our podcast on Transformation Talk Radio or iTunes or Spotify. Go to the first episode and we tell you all about what we're doing here. So the realm of being should be with us now. Realm, are you here?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Gretta and I have been talking about the creation of reality. Do you have anything more to share with the listeners today?
Most people don't believe in the creation of reality. It's easier not to think about that you created some things that you create. It's like it's unbelievable that I would do something like that.
Yes, it's definitely a hard pill for some to swallow, because when we're creating things that are joyful and happy, we can fully take responsibility for those things. But sometimes when things are less than desirable, or health challenges are arising in our life or with friends, or in the lives of friends, when we see these things we don't want to see happening around us, but especially when they are our creation of reality with ourselves, we sometimes have a tendency to deny that. But knowing that you create your reality is a form of empowerment, because you have the ability to change things you don't like once you're aware of it. How, if people are experiencing a creation in their life that they do not identify with, how can they change it?
Change the thought. Change the thought. But what thought would you change it with is to love yourself. We always say that. Love you. Some people think that that's not important. It is important because it directs your creation of reality. Loving yourself will provide you with other opportunities for loving yourself. If you're down in the dumps, I'm no good, I can't do this, I'm worthless, you're beating up on yourself, and you're beating up on a divine being. You are divine. You do not need to beat up on yourself. Start to live in your divineness as you are created, and as you create yourself, love yourself. Love every part of yourself. Love every cell of your body. That is something very important. It will dictate to you what attractions you are going to bring to yourself. Look around you. Who are you? What type of people are you attracting to yourself? What type of people? People that are beating up on themselves? People that don't love themselves? Or people that do love themselves? You have a choice, always. What were you saying, Leigh?
So that's a clue when people can observe what they are, who is surrounding them, and if they like the energy that is coming, then maybe they're on the right track. But if you feel good and you feel joyful, that is the way to be. However, if you don't want to look internal yet, but you externally see what's manifesting around you, and you try to judge it as not good or not the energy you want or bad influences, if you're seeing that, that means you have to turn internally to see what actually is in you. Yes?
Everything
That's a
is
gauge.
internal. Everything is internal. Your challenges are internal. Your solutions are internal. As humanoids, you look outside yourself for the answer. The answers are inside you, deep inside you. How do you change yourselves? You change yourselves by we would say to you, walk around the house and say, "Ooh, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself." Make it a chant. I love myself. I love myself. We can make a song out of that. Do something with it. Enjoy being you. Stop making yourself suffer. Who wants to suffer? I'm living in a bad place. You living in a bad place? Then get up and move. You with somebody that makes you feel bad about yourself? Then get up and move. You don't have to sit down anywhere at any time. You have the empowerment over yourselves at all times. You think you don't, but you do. Always. You always have the ability to create the things you want. Always. I don't care where you are. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your ailments are. You can change anything. Change your thoughts. Put your emotions, instead of putting your emotion to fear. I can't do this. I'm afraid. Release yourself of the fear. There's no need. Divinity has no need for fear. And you, each one of you, is divine.
So if someone is finding themselves in a place where maybe they're not feeling so good, they're feeling depressed, I mean, can you start with a small thing? I mean, if you're not ready to fully embrace loving yourself, if you find a little inkling of joy in a sunset or a flower and you start there with some external appreciation, is that the one stepping stone to getting to self-love?
That could be for some people. For some people, it would not be enough. If you are incarcerated, you can't go out to go get the flower. You can't go out to see the sunset. So now what do?
What is the start for those people? Some are in the proverbial prison, but if you're in an actual prison, where do you start?
We're working with a young man now. He had to learn to love himself. He had to learn to love himself. That's what he's practicing. It's not something that just pops up and say, okay, I love myself today. No. If you've been taught not to love yourself, you've spent 50 years of your life not loving yourself, 50 years of your life being in depression, just to go get a flower, they have to go deeper than that. They have to go deeper into themselves and decide, I'm better than this. I'm better than this. I know I am. I am a divine being. I can and I will love myself. Notice we're like speaking in the future, but some people only know present, past, present, and future. They don't understand the nowness. So for those who are at not the nowness, think of what you call the future. See it brighter than what it is. Write down on paper what it is you want. Study it. Study what you want. You have to change yourself. It just doesn't happen. You go around the corner and say, whoops, I'm changed. Thank goodness. I'm changed. No. You have to decide, this is what I am going to do. And don't be lonely. You know, some people say, oh, I'm lonely, I'm by myself. Forget that. We're all by ourselves. Me included.
But I thought we
Yes.
were all connected.
Yes, we are all one, Leigh. But in being humanoid, people think of the term, if there's not another person next door, or there's not another person that they're living with or that they're being with, they see themselves as being alone. It's another illusion. It's another illusion of aloneness.
We are getting to the end of the hour, Realm. Do you have anything brief that you would like to leave the listeners with?
We're going to leave them with the same thing we said over and over and over again. Love and appreciate yourselves. Love and appreciate yourselves. If it's your fingernails you like, start there. If it's your hair that you like, start there. If it's your feet, start there. Start somewhere about you that you are loving you, and then make it more and increase it more and more and more until you are loving your totality. Remember, you are divine.
Thank you, Realm. Thank you, Seattle, for listening. Gretta and I had a wonderful time filling in for Dr. Pat today. We hope you join us on our next podcast, Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Being. Thank you until we create each other again.